Tonight on KGW News, treacherous conditions as an ice storm blasts through.
It will defeat anyone.
With I-84 shut down through the gorge and very few planes getting off the ground.
I'll show you how much more freezing rain we have to get through before we warm and thaw out. Temperatures already getting warmer down the valley.
Plus, 4 nights without power, with freezing rain layering on some hard feelings.
Well, it's a little bit frustrating when you don't get answers.
And the extreme cold takes a grim toll.
That's frostbite. This digit here is pretty much dead.
So with more people dying, what's the plan after shelters shut tomorrow?
Thanks so much for joining us. I'm David Molko. Let's get right into round 2 of this winter wallop, beginning with a view of Portland tonight from the central east side of a city coated in ice. Thankfully, most people heeding the warnings to stay home and stay safe, with those roads largely quiet. We have team coverage of the ice storm that is making its way through, with a look at conditions from the Gorge to Washington County, from Vancouver to Salem. But first, let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Matt Zafino with where we're at tonight and when we might finally thaw out. Matt.
Yeah, David, it's a slow process, but it will come tomorrow. The freezing rain tonight has been pretty light after that initial band moved through about 4 or 5 o'clock. Here's Pioneer Square Skycam looking down on our frozen city, 27 degrees, and there is freezing rain falling yet again. Still hanging on to that east wind. It's not very strong, but it still continues to deliver that cold air through the gorge into the metro area. See a fog over the city too, and again, as you mentioned, the roads are pretty quiet, which is great because they are icy with 27 degrees right now. You look around town, everybody's in the mid-20s basically. 24 in Troutdale, 26 Happy Valley, 25 King City, 28 in Hillsborough. The good news is temperatures really we're not going to drop overnight. If anything, they'll rise slowly as we go through the evening hours. Eugene has finally made it up to 32 degrees. We've been watching that carefully. Remember, earlier this evening it was 28, so they've seen 4 degrees of warming. Haven't seen a big south wind kick in yet, still below freezing in Corvallis, but they've made it up to 30. Salem and McMinnville right behind. So we're seeing slow progress as we thought we would. As far as the precipitation goes, a little batch of freezing rain over us right now, and there's more behind that. We're not seeing any major bands move through like we did earlier today, but there is a new area of precipitation rolling onto the southern coast right now, and that's going to be swooping north as we go through the overnight hours. So there will be more freezing rain, even though it lightened up quite a bit. Here's what we picked up so far. Nearly 2/10 of an inch in Portland. That's what I measured downtown as well. But Aurora had more, 3/10 of an inch there, about 1/3 of an inch in McMinnville, 1400s up in Scappoose, and nearly 1/2 an inch down in Salem, where it's been some significant icing there. Okay, here's what we have looking forward overnight tonight. Most of the modeling showing the additional icing will be between about 1/10 of an inch to 2/10 of an inch, and the gorge less because you're going to see more snow basically out of the gorge. So we'll boil it down this way for you. Freezing rain on and off overnight tonight. Occasionally it'll be heavier than other times, so not super heavy. Another 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of additional icing. We will warm above freezing a little bit later than I'd been saying earlier, between about 10 and noon tomorrow. Still headed for the 40s later tomorrow. We'll have more on this. We'll look at the hour-by-hour temperatures, all that coming up, David.
Yeah, slow and steady. Thank you, Matt. Our team coverage continues now at the mouth of the gorge in Troutdale, and you can see the blowing snow that drivers were dealing with just before the sun went down. Then with a sheet of ice on top of that, conditions really got dangerous. I-84 shut down tonight all the way to Hood River. Let's go live now to Evan Watson in Troutdale. Evan, earlier you were hit with tiny ice pellets. You saw chunks coming off buildings. I hear the wind there. What is it like right now?
Yeah, well, David, I can tell you that my best friend, the ice pellets, have returned. We had a couple hours of calm with nothing really flying through the air, but boy, they're back with a vengeance. The winds are just very strong here at Troutdale, and it's no wonder that ODOT closed the gorge, this road here, I-84, from Troutdale to Hood River earlier today around 2:30. Before we saw really any conditions here, they knew what this would turn into, and we've seen that come true fruition here. Currently, the ice getting picked up from the ground and also through the wind coming down, and not even directly down, but being blown kind of that 45-degree angle. Now, as we talked about I-84 being closed, we've seen a steep drop-off in the number of trucks and cars being turned around here. Most people thankfully heeding the warnings to stay home and stay out of this, not try to drive in these conditions. But we did check in at PDX as well at the airport, where a lot of flights have been canceled this evening. It was one of those rare days where the departures lane at PDX stood still.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
Andres had a flight out Tuesday night to get home to Florida. He said he didn't get an email and thought it was still on, only to arrive and find a mostly empty airport.
Oh, well, it was dead. I walked up to security and they're like, oh yeah, there's no flights tonight. Cool.
In total, 26 departing flights out of PDX were canceled from Tuesday afternoon through midnight. The airport cited the freezing rain as the reason why many airlines called off their flights early. Many flights, but not all. Luis Espinoza and his family are one of the last flights standing, a Volaris plane headed to Guadalajara. He says they feel lucky.
I'm happy because another person stay here in the airport.
Most people at PDX are travelers like Donna Acox, staying overnight and waiting for the next available flight.
Never seen this airport with this few people in it.
Acox was initially going to fly out of Eugene, but then rebooked to fly out of Portland.
The weather's kind of bad, it's icy outside, so we're just kind of stranded here.
Back here in Troutdale, these current conditions really require a stable base, that kind of athletic stance. Before you got to me, even during that package as it was playing, you feel big gusts come through, just like that one right now, that can almost knock you off your feet. It also requires protection for the eyes if you're looking into where the ice is getting flown through. Another great reason to not even try to test these conditions and stay off the road as best you can. So we're going to keep an eye on things out here. It's just so windy that I think that's really where you run into problems if you're trying to stay outside for longer than just a check on what it looks like. David, back to you.
Nothing like a live demo there. Evan Watson there. Excellent work by you and your photographer, Ken McCormick. We really appreciate it. Come back inside. Stay warm tonight. Thanks so much. You know, well, thankfully, we have not heard of any major crashes in this weather. We did learn today of at least 2 more deaths. That makes 5 suspected fatal cases of hypothermia in our area since Saturday, along with 2 more people killed by falling trees. Let's continue our coverage of current conditions and out to Washington County now. That's where we find Alma McCarty. Alma, you've been all over the roads tonight. How's it looking from where you are right now?
Yeah, well, David, I can tell you that depending on where you are, the conditions vary very widely. So we are actually in the Sylvan area, a little bit closer to the station after driving around Washington County all afternoon. And really from where I am currently standing, there is a ton of slush that's easy to grip. However, if you just move over to the sidewalk, to the roadway, you can see that that is really a sheet of ice. So you just want to be careful out on the roads. But the good news tonight, most people did heed the warnings and stayed put through the evening hours. From Beaverton to Hillsborough and across Washington County, drivers dealt with differing conditions. Some main roads like Highway 26 stayed relatively slushy compared to side streets that proved to be a little more slick.
Glad I'm not in Nebraska or back east.
For the most part, people stayed put, parked at home, allowing crews to get the work done. We saw a group of line workers turning the lights back on in downtown Hillsborough. Other road crews kept treating these roads to make them as safe as possible for people who did have to be out, like Thomas Colas.
It's too icy and not many people are coming, and I like that. It's my Friday.
The bulk of precipitation coating the roads coming down in the early evening. By 9:30, the few still out saw only a mist.
We didn't know how it was going to be. This is rather nice rather than sleet and everything coming down like I thought it would be.
And after several below freezing days, he, alongside many others, are ready to see all this melt away.
It'll be over soon. We'll be back to normal.
And wouldn't we like to see this all go back to normal? Just keep in mind, over the next 12 hours, things could be very icy on the roads, again, depending on where you are. And within Washington County, there are a couple of snow zones to keep in mind, roads where traction devices are required. Those include parts of Barnes, Cornell, and 175th. So again, if you're heading out within the next 12 hours or so, definitely something to check out before you hit the road. David, back to you.
Hey, you know what? Normal sounds great. Thanks so much, Alma. I appreciate your reporting tonight. Let us talk about transit, and no surprise here, the same day the Max Blue Line came back online, it just as quickly shut down. The headline from TriMet tonight, because of the ice storm, avoid all travel at this time. Buses have been largely detoured or suspended, and all are chained, meaning travel is extremely slow going. The morning, it's looking iffy. By the way, you can see the closures at the bottom of your screen there in red. Portland Public Schools, Beaverton, the list goes on and on. Riders can check trimet.org/alerts for the latest updates and delays. All right, let's bring in Catherine Cook in downtown Portland now. Catherine, we saw you at the Vancouver waterfront earlier. Now you're back in the Rose City. You talked to the few people who decided to venture out. What'd you learn?
Yeah. Well, David, I learned it's tough for some people to stay inside. A lot of folks had plans and they wanted to keep them. For some businesses, those plans were to stay open.
Yeah, we drove to work just fine, but this is going to be fun trying to get back. Tonight we shut down a little bit early.
That's Jeff Boyer about to brave the roads. He owns Little Italy Trattoria in downtown Vancouver. He did close early tonight. By mid-evening, the neighborhood had pretty much emptied out. Folks we saw braving the elements took very small steps, especially while crossing the street. I can tell you from personal experience, just walking on the ice-covered snow was a challenge. Boyer says for him, keeping his business open today was worth it.
It was actually surprisingly busy. We're carry out and delivery only, and so we had all the DoorDash and all the apps going, and yeah, a lot of people just didn't want to go out in this, so they just ordered out.
Back live in downtown Portland, we checked and it appears most Portland City and Vancouver City officials' offices will stay closed tomorrow. A few will be working remotely, but even folks who are going to head out and head to the office on foot, thinking maybe that's safer than driving. Yes, but like I said, it's tricky to even walk out here. We've got these...
Oh, I'm sorry for messing up the shot.
I've got these yak tracks on. And we've got traction, and that's really the important thing. But otherwise, as you saw, just take things slow. And really, if you can, stay home even tomorrow morning. Back to you, David.
Yeah, it's good advice. Catherine Cook covering 2 states for us tonight. Thank you, Catherine. Well, let's head south now because Salem was one of the first spots in the area to see the freezing rain this afternoon. Our crews reported side streets were slick before the sun went down. Because of the ruts that had built up from previous snow and ice, it made for a bit of a bumpy ride. Travel on I-5 between Salem and Portland was manageable to marginal earlier this evening, though we now have a report of a crash near Wilsonville tonight. Be careful. Our coverage of the ice storm continues. Up next, a reality check from one neighborhood still suffering in the dark, plus the latest power outage numbers that are ticking up in some spots. And we have seen a record number of people in warming shelters since Saturday. So what's the plan after they close? Stay with us.